The last time I spoke to my friend from rehab, he told me, I don't think I'm strong enough this time. I tried to encourage him, but I could hear the hollow in his voice, and 2 days later I was reading his name in an obituary no one posted publicly. I met Keith at the end of my rope. It was the winter of 2022. I had just walked into a rehab center outside Asheville, North Carolina, after my third overdose in 2 years. I was 41 and already felt like life had closed shop on me. My wife had left. My job had parted ways with me. My kids wouldn't speak to me unless it was through a therapist. I was tired, broke, and dragging behind a shame I couldn't shake. Rehab was my last shot, and even that felt like a lie I was telling myself. Keith came in 3 days after me. He walked into our group therapy room with this thin, hollow-eyed look that I now know too well. Like a dog that's been kicked too many times. But even then he still cracked a joke the first time we went around the circle. Said, you guys ever get clean just long enough to start hating yourself sober? Some people laughed. Others just looked away. He sat next to me. Said his name, told the group he used to be an EMT. Then he looked over at me and whispered, think we'll make it? I said, I'm here 'cause I didn't. That's how it started. We were different in some ways, eh? He was younger, late 30s, used mostly opioids while I'd mixed everything under the sun. But we were alike in all the ways that mattered. Same deep kind of pain. Same way of joking to hide it. Same pattern of trying, failing, lying about it, then trying again. Keith told me the job broke him. All those years as an EMT, pulling people out of crashed cars and watching kids die on his gurney. He said the worst wasn't when they died, eh? It was when they lived but looked at him like they wished they hadn't. He said one day something in him just stopped working. He started using pills to sleep, then pills to stay awake. Eventually, pills to feel nothing at all. We got tight fast. Rehab can do that. When you're sitting in your worst moments, the only people who understand you are the ones sitting in theirs too. We'd sneak extra coffee, smoke under the awning during rain, and make up fake backstories for the staff. He said our counselor used to be a failed magician. I said he probably just drank too much and got a certificate online. We also made a deal. If one of us ever felt like using, no matter what time, no matter how long it had been, we'd call the other. No judgment. No be strong speeches. Just call. We finished the program together. 63 days. He gave me a hug the day we left. Said, let's not die this year. I laughed and said, that's the plan. The first few months out, we stayed in touch like we said we would. We'd text nearly every day. Mostly stupid stuff, memes, stuff about our old group, inside jokes. But sometimes we got serious. He told me he was struggling. Missing his ex, feeling like a ghost in his own life. Then came the day he didn't text back. It was a Saturday. I remember because I was standing in line at Walmart and thought, haven't heard from Keith today. Not unusual, but my gut felt off. I messaged him anyway. No reply. Then no reply on Sunday either. He finally called Monday night. I picked up fast. His voice was quiet. Slurred, maybe? Hard to tell. Hey man, he said. I screwed up. I asked how bad. He admitted he'd relapsed. Just a couple of beers, he said at first. But then I heard the sniffle in his voice. I knew better. Where are you? I asked. Motel. Off Patton. Room smells like bleach and regret. I asked if he needed a ride. He said no. Said he was detoxing on his own and that he'd be okay. I told him to call me every hour. He didn't. I stayed up all night waiting for the phone to buzz. It never did. He called 2 days later, sobbing. Said he thought he was dying. That he saw his dead mother in the ceiling tiles. He said, I almost didn't make it. I told him I was proud of him for calling. He promised he'd go back to rehab. And he did. Same place. Called me on the drive there, voice hoarse but determined. Said, this is the last time. I gotta reset. I'm not done yet. I said good. 'Cause I need you around, man. I drove up for family day. I wasn't really family, but they let me in since he didn't have anyone else. We sat on the back bench, behind the cafeteria, watching squirrels fight over a bagel. He didn't talk much. Then he looked at me and said, real quiet, I don't think I'm strong enough this time. It hit me like a punch. I tried to lift him up. Told him he was strong enough. That he made the call. That was strength. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That was the last time I ever saw him. 2 days later, I sent a text. No reply. Called. Straight to voicemail. I called the rehab center. They said he checked himself out AMA against medical advice. My stomach dropped. I tried not to panic. Told myself maybe he just needed space. Maybe he was fine. But I knew better. I started calling. Every motel in Asheville. Every hospital. The county jail. Nothing. 3 days after that, I searched his name online. And there it was. A quiet, plain obituary on some funeral home's website. No photo. No flowers. No funeral date. Just Keith James Ralston, 1985 to 2023. I stared at it for 10 full minutes. There were no comments. No posts from friends. Not even his sister said anything. It was like he died and the world just moved on. The man who saved lives for a living died alone in a motel, and the only thing left behind was a line on a screen. I haven't deleted our texts. I still read them sometimes. I keep hearing his voice when he said, "I don't think I'm strong enough this time." I should have known that wasn't a question. It was a goodbye. After I found the obituary, I didn't know what to do with myself. I went outside and sat on my porch for hours, just staring at nothing. Cars went by. A neighbor waved. Somewhere kids were laughing. And Keith was dead. That was it. No noise. No warning. No second chance. The next morning, I called the funeral home. I had to hear it out loud. The lady on the phone asked who I was. I told her I was a friend, maybe his only one. There was a pause. Then she quietly confirmed it. Keith passed 2 days ago. The body's already been claimed. Claimed? I asked. By who? Next of kin. His sister. That surprised me. Last I knew, she'd cut him off. Wouldn't take his calls. I asked if there was going to be a service. She said no. The family chose to keep things private. Private. He dies alone and they bury him in silence. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from grief. From rage. I didn't know his sister personally, but I had her number from months back. I stared at it for hours, debating. Finally, I called. She picked up after the third ring. "Hello. Is this Dana?" "Yes." "Who's this?" "This is Sam. I was Keith's friend. From Rehab." Silence. Then she said, "I'm sorry for your loss," like it was a line she memorized. "I saw the obituary," I said. "Why didn't anyone say anything?" "He didn't want people to know," she said. "That's not true," I snapped. "He was fighting. He was trying. He needed people." "Look," she said coldly. "I've buried him once already. I'm not doing this again." "What does that mean?" She sighed. "Do you know how many times I've gotten that call? From hospitals, jails, halfway houses? Do you know what it's like watching someone you love disappear inch by inch for 10 years? "Yes," I said, "because I lived it with him. And he didn't give up. Not completely." She didn't say anything for a moment. Then, "You think you knew him because you spent a few months with him in rehab? Try growing up with him. Try watching him steal from your mother's purse while she was in hospice. Try getting a call saying he OD'd on your wedding day." I didn't know what to say. She finished with, "He's gone. And frankly, I'm relieved. Because now at least it's over." Then she hung up. I sat there with the phone to my ear for a long time. That call should have brought closure. It didn't. It only opened more wounds. The next day, I drove to Asheville. I don't know what I expected to find. Maybe the motel. Maybe someone who saw him. I just needed to feel like he existed. Like he left something behind. I found the motel easily. It was the kind of place where you don't ask questions. The guy at the front desk didn't even blink when I asked about Keith. Said, "You mean the guy from room 103? "Yeah, that's him. Died in the bathtub," he said, flipping through a logbook. "Left a bunch of papers. Cops took most of it." "Papers?" "Yeah. Notebook, some letters." My heart nearly stopped. "You don't happen to have anything, do you?" He looked around. Shrugged. "I mean, I threw away the trash. But if you want to check the dumpster, be my guest." So I did. I spent the next hour digging through rotting food, broken bottles, and torn up fast food bags. And then, under a box of moldy pizza, I found it. A notebook. Water-stained, torn in places, but still legible. It was his. The same notebook he carried in rehab. The one he never let anyone read. I flipped it open with shaking hands. The first page said, "If someone's reading this, I guess I didn't make it. Sorry, man." I sat in my car behind that motel for what felt like hours, just holding that notebook. The pages were soaked, some stuck together. But it was his handwriting, sharp, rushed, angry in some places, softer in others. Keith never showed the side to anyone. He always joked, always deflected. But these pages were raw. They bled. He had written letters. Dozens of them. To his ex, to his sister, to people he worked with. Even one to a kid he'd once saved in the back of his ambulance. But one letter was addressed to me. The front just said, "Sam, if you ever find this." I stared at it for a long time. I didn't want to read it, because reading it would mean he knew he wouldn't make it out. He wasn't just slipping, he was giving up. But I had to. So I opened it. "Sam, I know I said I'd call if things got bad again. I didn't. And that's on me." It wasn't about pride. It wasn't even about the drugs anymore. It was this thing inside me that I couldn't shut off. Like I was carrying this heavy screaming in my chest that wouldn't stop even when I was clean. "You were the only person who gave a damn about me after I left that place. And I know I let you down. You told me I was strong. But I'm not. I'm tired. There's no one left who remembers me the way I want to be remembered. Not my sister. Not anyone. But you did. And that meant something. I hope you're still clean. I hope you keep going. Don't follow me. Please don't. If I had more time. Or maybe a little more fight in me. Maybe this letter wouldn't exist. But if you find this, I want you to do one thing. Tell someone the truth. About me. Not the mugshots. Not the relapse. But who I really was. Tell it to anyone who will listen. So I don't disappear like I never existed. That's all I want now." Keith, I read that last line over and over. So I don't disappear like I never existed. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in my hotel room staring at the notebook, flipping through the other pages, trying to piece him back together. There were memories from his childhood. Notes about calls he never returned, descriptions of his worst moments. What he'd done to his sister, why he couldn't forgive himself. But something else was in there too. Page near the back. It wasn't a letter. It was a list. A name, a phone number, and a short sentence under it. "Mike L., Northlight Recovery Center, told me to keep quiet about the night shift incident." It felt out of place. It was different than the rest, colder. Clinical. Like a record. I took a picture of it with my phone. Then I Googled Northlight Recovery Center. Not the rehab we went to. A different one. I'd never heard of it. Smaller, cheaper, more hidden. It was in Marion, about an hour away. I called the number. Disconnected. I dug further. Found a few posts on addiction forums. Mostly vague mentions. Nothing detailed. But one stuck out. A comment from someone named Jags245 who wrote, "Don't trust Mike L. Cover-ups at Northlight. People get hurt." Something shifted in my stomach. I remembered something Keith said once, months back, half asleep during group. "I don't trust places that make you worse and then tell you you're getting better." He said it like a joke, but maybe it wasn't. What if something happened at that other rehab? What if Keith saw something he wasn't supposed to? And what if someone wanted him to stay quiet? I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore it either. The notebook was more than just a goodbye. It was a clue. The next morning, I drove straight to Marion. I didn't have a plan. Just Keith's notebook, a screenshot of that list, and too much anger to keep still. The place, Northlight Recovery Center, sat off a back road behind a gas station and an empty lot. It looked like an old motel someone slapped a sign on. I parked across the street and watched for a while. It wasn't busy. No families visiting. No security. Just a nurse walking in, a guy smoking by the back door, and a front desk with glass too thick for that kind of neighborhood. Then I saw the name tag on a man stepping outside for a smoke. Mike L. I recognized him right away. His face was in one of Keith's drawings in the notebook. Keith wasn't an artist, but he was detailed. Big nose, red knuckles, always stares too long. The same. I walked over before I could talk myself out of it. "Hey, you Mike." He squinted at me. "Who's asking?" "I'm a friend of Keith Ralston." That name hit him like a slap. He stiffened. Took a long drag on his cigarette. "You here to make trouble?" "No," I said. "I'm here for answers." He turned like he was about to walk away. But I followed him. "Keith's dead. You knew something about that, didn't you?" He didn't answer. "He wrote your name down," I said, stepping in front of him. "Said you told him to stay quiet about some incident." Mike flinched. Then he got mean. "Look," he said, low and cold. "I've been here 10 years. You think I haven't seen junkies make up stories? You think I haven't had to cover their asses when they OD on things they're not even supposed to have. Cover whose ass? I asked. He laughed. Yours, mine, theirs. Rehab's a business. Nobody wants news stories about dead addicts. The state pulls funding and the place shuts down. You want your friend's death to mean something? It meant he couldn't keep up. Simple as that. He turned again, but I grabbed his arm. You're not walking away from this. He pulled back hard. You got 5 seconds before I call the cops. Go ahead, I said. I've already sent copies of the notebook to 2 reporters. With your name in it. That was a lie. But he didn't know that. Mike's face went white. You son of a... I want the truth, I said. What happened at that place? And finally he cracked. There was a patient, he said. Young guy. OD'd during night shift. Keith found him. Tried to save him. We called 911, but we were late. Kid died. So why cover it up? Because it happened after we'd already been warned by the state once. About missing meds. About our staff stealing. If it got out, we were finished. So I told Keith to shut up. Told him the kid was a lost cause anyway. I felt like I was going to throw up. He carried that, I said. He carried your shame. Mike looked away. I left before I did something I'd regret. I didn't go to the police. Not right away. I went home. I sat with what I knew. I read every page of that notebook. Then I did what Keith asked. I started with a post online. One of those addiction forums. Told the truth. His story. His struggle. His death. And what I found. Then I sent the notebook to a reporter in Asheville who covered healthcare corruption. She called me within an hour. I told her everything. A week later, the story went public. Whistleblower reveals death cover-up at local rehab center. It hit fast. The story spread. Families came forward. The state opened an investigation. Mike L. got fired. The rehab center shut down. And people who had lost loved ones finally had a reason to ask questions. Keith wasn't just another dead addict now. He was the reason the truth got out. I wish I could say I stayed clean through all of it. I didn't. A month after the story broke, I relapsed. Just once. I was overwhelmed. Guilty. Angry. And stupid. I used. Then I hated myself. But I called someone. A new friend from group. I did what Keith had asked me to do. I didn't disappear. Keith made mistakes. So did I. So did everyone in his story. But he deserved better. And because of him, people will get better. I visit his grave once a year now. It's quiet. Small. But I always leave something behind. Not flowers. A copy of his notebook. Because he wanted to be remembered. And now he is.